Ladies and gentlemen, it is debate day. Tonight, Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, and wow. I feel like any honest prediction is going to be that Kamala Harris does not know how to debate properly, and they're worried. And we saw the story yesterday. Kamala's team thinks she's being handcuffed by Joe Biden's rules. They want Donald Trump's microphone to be on. They're hoping he has a hot-headed moment. But Donald Trump is greatly improved. He is dramatically improved. And I have to wonder if it's because he's getting old. And I mean that. I mean, he's an old man, right? So what happens is he's still kind of an old guy in 2016. But we're talking 8 years ago. He's old. But, you know, Trump is spry. And we know this. That's the way he's energetic. And so at the time, he's uncouth. He's aggressive. He makes jokes. You know what I mean? And a lot of people didn't like that. Well, now Trump is a bit more battered, as it were. I mean, the deep state, you've got Democrats in New York, the federal government, they're going after him. And I feel like he's probably just a bit more tired. And for someone like Donald Trump, who is spry, as I would describe it, being tired makes him appear more mild-mannered. I think he's just over it. So he's on the debate stage with Joe Biden, and he's very calm, saying, yeah, you butchered Medicare and Medicaid. I mean, yeah, well, what can I say? And a lot of people, they want to see that Donald Trump losing it, just being very angry. But instead, they get this tempered, calm, reasonable man. Kamala Harris is hoping for the irrational, the angry, and they want the microphones to turn on. Well, it's not going to happen. Anyway, to the news. I love this one. CNN host Erin Burnett actually shocked when they find out that in 2019, Harris said she would support sex change surgeries for illegal immigrants. I got to tell you, my friends, I had to put it in the title. That's the news. CNN's reporting this. This is K-File. This is Erin Burnett. Now, they say gender transition surgery, but I don't have enough characters, YouTube, to fit that in a headline. So naturally, by putting the phrase sex change in the headline, YouTube is going to likely not recommend this live stream. But hey, it is what it is. Share the video if you do like the morning show and you like the work that I'm doing. But we'll talk about a bit more. We've got a looming government shutdown. And it may happen just before the election because the Republicans want to attach the SAVE Act to the funding bill, saying you want a continuing resolution, you want to fund the government, you've got to ban, or I should say require, proof of citizenship if someone wants to register to vote. Democrats are like, no, you don't need that. And it's just, why? It's kind of weird. I mean, who cares? You got to be a citizen to vote, right? And they say, well, it's already illegal to do it. Yo, if that's the difference between saying it's illegal to rob a liquor store. And so when the liquor store says, we'd like to hire a security guard, you go, what for? It's already illegal. It's like, well, because sometimes people break the law. And even though it's illegal, they're going to do it anyway. It's like saying abolish the police. What do you need police for? Murder is already illegal. Well, because we need to stop the people when they do commit the murders, because that's what enforcement of the law is. So how about we have that security, right? And then I want to talk about Candace Owens. She got suspended and her podcast taken down because they were talking about Zionists. I guess that's the story. Candace Owens, of course, now doing her independent podcast, she's been banned from the partner program. And a lot of people are speaking up in her defense. I don't think she should be suspended from YouTube. I don't think the episode should be taken down. But I do think YouTube, they don't have to do ad sales for you if they don't want to. So taking her out of the partner program, look, my attitude is sell your own ads. However, it's the taking down of a massive episode with, I think it was with Ye, you know. So we'll talk about that. And we got some migrant stories we'll talk a little bit about coming up. You got the Haitian migrants, the landlord's being forced to sell his apartment complex from the takeover, and other related stories, which we'll get into. But of course, we will start here with the CNN. Look, I don't know what to tell you, man. Kamala Harris she's nuts. Okay, we'll talk about it, but she doesn't have policy positions. She's just saying what she thinks is popular and prominent, and it's insanity. We'll talk about it. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com to buy Cast Brew coffee, and let's check the numbers. That's it. This one breaks my heart. Mr. Bokus Pumpkin Spice Experience Ground is officially done. It is no longer available. We sold out. It is sad. You know, Mr. Bokus, he was our cat. when we made him the mascot for our pumpkin spice blend. We still have 115 of the whole bean, which I think is better, but you need a grinder. We did not know that he was sick. And one day, Mr. Bocus, our cat, was sitting down in like the living room area of our house, and he just kind of fell over, like he passed out. I guess he got lightheaded. And we brought him to the vet. His blood cell count was low. His kidneys were failing, and we didn't understand why. I mean, he was 5. He was 4, maybe 4.5. I think he was like 4.5. He's young. He's a young man. And it turned out that as a street cat, he was a rescue. His kidneys didn't develop properly, so they were small and couldn't handle a full-size adult cat body. So when he was little, it wasn't really that big of a deal. But as he got bigger, his kidneys didn't develop properly, and it's just it's unfortunate. And it's sad that this happened, but, and so we thought it was funny to do a year-round pumpkin spice blend for, Mr. Bocus as the mascot, because it's always seasonal. And when he died, we just thought, we'd end it. But we're going to make another blend for him, focus with Mr. Bocus to keep his memory alive, but it'll be different and it won't be the same thing. I felt we had to do that. Anyway, that's it. It makes me sad. I miss you, Mr. Bocus. He was a good cat. And then, of course, Roberto Jr. died, too. And then Alex Stein, we made him his own blend, too. And then, after we did that, he ended up in the hospital. I'm not even kidding. Like a heart attack or something. And people were like, Tim, stop making mascots. Well, now Ian's a mascot for Ian's Graphene Dream, so we'll keep an eye on his health. Head over to timcast.com, sign up in the top right, or click Join Us to become a member and support this show directly. This show operates. The whole company operates off of you guys as members. And if we didn't have your support, we would not be here. So membership is what drives everything, and we really do appreciate your guys' support. You may notice that aside from the company we have, we don't do big sponsor reads. And when we do, if we do, it's only in the front of the episode before it starts. So we've been sponsored by MyPillow recently. We've got some other sponsors. But what we don't do is the mid-show advertisements, which almost all podcasts do. So when we're live and we're on YouTube, you'll get the automated stuff. That's YouTube's automated ad stuff. But we don't interrupt our own show with those amazing... how do you do that? Everybody loves doing these amazing ad reads where you say, I love Donald Trump's policy on securing the border because it's what this country needs. And you know what else this country needs? New mattresses. Head over to... Yeah, we don't do that here. And it's because you guys are members. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show right now, because I don't think YouTube is going to be recommending this stream. And it's already apparent that they aren't. So you guys, as viewers, if you think the subject matter is worthy of the ears of your friends, neighbors, and family, then I ask you to be the recommendation algorithm and share it. So let's jump into the story because I love it. This one made me laugh. CNN reports, K-File, Harris told ACLU in 2019 she supports cuts to ICE funding, and providing gender transition surgery to detained migrants. You know what makes me laugh and why this story is absolutely hilarious? I want you to imagine this. Some 20-year-old illegal immigrant from Honduras shows up at the border and gets detained. And let's say he doesn't speak a whole lot of English. And so he's sitting there nervous. What do I do? And somehow the language gets mixed up. And the border guards are like, I think this guy is saying he's transgender or something. We asked him if he's a man, his gender, and he says he's female. And then they're like, I think we should give him hormone treatment and gender surgery. And they're like, sir, do you want gender surgery? And he's like, yes, like not knowing what they're saying. Next thing you know, this illegal migrant who enters the country illegally is getting a sex change operation. He has no idea why. Look, it's the making of a nightmarish it's a horror comedy drama, but it's just insane to me that Kamala Harris was like, if an illegal immigrant comes here and wants to get a sex change, we should give it to them while they're in CBP detention. It's so shocking that actually Aaron Burnett, I love this, CNN is actually shocked by this. They're like, wait, what? Let me play the clip for you.
So in 2019, in what K-File found, she said she would cut funding to ICE, writing, quote, our immigrant detention system is out of control, and I believe we must end the unfair incarceration of thousands of individuals, families, and children. I was one of the first senators after President Trump was elected to advocate for a decrease in funding to ICE. Well, now, of course, she's touting the Biden administration's executive order to crack down on the border. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski joins me now. Andrew, that's pretty incredible on its own when you're talking about what you found here on ICE. What else did you find?
Yeah, and this was a questionnaire that she filled out for the ACLU, and this questionnaire is really an interesting snapshot in time of that 2019 Democratic primary. Kamala Harris was trying to get to the left of Bernie Sanders. She was trying to get to the left of Elizabeth Warren, and you really see that in a lot of these answers, and I want to walk our viewers through a little bit of what she said. Let's just take immigration and look at what she said here. She said on immigration, she made this open-ended pledge to end immigrant detention. She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she supported
taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She actually said she supported that.
She wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this. And she said she also supported it for federal prisoners. Now, she also pledged to slash immigration detention by 50%, close all family and private facilities, and decrease funding for ICE, and then end ICE detainers with local law enforcement.
I mean, these are things that, you know, it would be hard to think that you would come up with taxpayer funding gender transitions for detained migrants. And yet this, as you say, written and verbally.
Written and verbally. Kamala Harris. I'm sorry, dude. Okay, look. Right now, there's a big story coming out of Springfield, Ohio. The media is claiming no, Haitian migrants aren't eating people's pets. And I don't know that there's any evidence to suggest it. There was a video of a woman who was harming a cat with the intention to consume it, as my understanding. But we don't know that that woman is actually a Haitian migrant. However, there have been numerous reports of Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, camping on people's lawns and property and taking ducks and geese from the park and eating them. There's an image of a man carrying a goose that's all I know, but people are saying it's a Haitian migrant. I don't know that it is. But the locals are complaining, saying, yo, the Haitians are doing this. My friends, right now in Chicago, you have the black community saying that they're being replaced. And Kamala Harris, 5 years ago, it's not even that long, 5 years, was saying she was so radical that she was offering sex changes to illegal immigrants in detention. I want to explain to you what that is, okay? This is insanity. I mean it. It is psychosis. It is emergent political psychosis. Kamala Harris is an NPC, a non-player character. Any rational human being, okay, at any point that has the ability to recognize themselves in a mirror, okay? You know that test they do where they took a gorilla and they put a sticker on his forehead, then they put the gorilla in front of the mirror, and the gorilla looks in the mirror and then pulls the sticker off, and they're like, aha! The gorilla understands that it's looking at a reflection. It understands the self. Whereas like other animals attack the mirror because they don't understand it's a reflection. Yeah, Kamala Harris, she's sitting there just confused, and they're like, say the most psychotic leftist thing you can. And she goes, okay. That's okay. Look, you have to understand there are very, very few people relative to the population, but there's a lot but for most people, if you go out in the street, let me tell you, take this right now from CNN, go out in the street and ask someone, do you support sex change operations for illegal immigrants? And they're going to say, no. They're going to say no. That's why Aaron Burnett was like, wait, what? But I also got to tell you, when CNN is reporting this, that's interesting. CNN is coming up basically on the other side of this one. They're going to mention that this was part of a questionnaire from the ACLU. Then Senator Harris filled out as a candidate for president in 2020. She also expressed support for decriminalizing federal drug possession in personal use and for sweeping reductions to immigration and customs enforcement operations, including drastic cuts in ICE funding and an open-ended pledge to end immigration detention. The questionnaire has received scant media attention, and a spokesperson for the ACLU claimed it had remained live from 2019. Interesting. But the ACLU's website upload and page source indicate the questionnaire was reposted last month after Harris became the presumptive nominee. CNN was unable to find questionnaires filled out by other candidates from the 2020 campaign and that the ACLU had reposted. I don't even know what's going on. Are they sabotaging Kamala on purpose at this point? I'm telling you. I have that, you guys, everybody, they got these conspiracy theories where they're saying, the deep state's out for Trump. I'm going to double conspiracy theory you by saying actually Trump's in on it. They're making it out like he's the bad guy so that we all rally behind him. Then he wins. You see that one? Double conspiracy theory. I'm kidding, by the way. Of course, the media will claim that I'm not. But yeah, man, here we go. From Fox News, Harris ACLU questionnaire shows she supported gender transition surgeries of detained migrants and defunding ICE. Well, we also have this from Aaron Burnett. Donald Trump showers praise on the CNN segment, claiming even they say Harris is a phony. So this is a review finds 50 plus instances where of Harris slamming Trump's useless border wall, now featured in her campaign ads.
Tonight, K-File investigates. In a new report, you'll see first out front. The K-File team scoured Kamala Harris's tweets and statements going all the way back to 2017. And what they found was more than 50 instances of Harris slamming Trump's border wall. But now, new Harris campaign ads actually showcase that very wall.
As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border.
And on top of critical tweets, Harris also wrote in her 2019 book, quote, there was a bigger reason to oppose the border wall. A useless wall on the southern border would be nothing more than a symbol, a monument standing in opposition to not just everything I value, but to the fundamental values upon which this country was built. How could I vote to build what would be little more than a monument designed to send the cold, hard message, keep out? Well,
I got to tell you, my friends, I think the deep state is crumbling. Kamala Harris, really? She is the definition of non-player character. She is the innkeeper in World of Warcraft. That's it. You know what? No, I'm sorry. That's giving her too much credit. The innkeeper actually serves a function in World of Warcraft. She's more like the armor vendor in World of Warcraft. For those that don't know what that means, it's a useless NPC that sells objects no one would ever use in the game. I suppose the only value is to offload the junk for, currency in the game. A useless character who just says garbled nonsense that benefits and has no interaction. You could take Kamala Harris and be like, polls currently say that vanilla ice cream is disgusting and we should eat asparagus. And she'll go, well, okay. And then she'll write a book. Or I don't even think she wrote the book. Check this out. In a post on his Truth Social app, Trump offered rare praise and gratitude to CNN for a segment that reported on Harris having previously and repeatedly condemned the border wall before seeming to embrace the concept because it's popular. Donald Trump won in 2016 for a reason. OK, he was up, like 9 million votes from 16 to 2020. And then there was a shadow campaign. We all know that. And that's Time Magazine's phrase, media. Don't look at me. Now look where we are in 2024. Bill Kristol is furious. He's like, I don't understand. After everything and all the authoritarianism, Trump's more popular than ever. I love it. He's certainly more popular than ever. He's got more support. New York Times has him up in the polls, and Nate Silver has given him a 64% chance to win the election. Alan Lichtman, on the other hand, says the opposite, but that seems to make very little sense, which we will get into later on in the show. So here we are with Donald Trump's views being popular, CNN now coming out against Kamala Harris. Strangely, the ACLU reposting her political positions, but nobody else's. Maybe there really is so much support for Trump that even behind the scenes, people are like, we are done with Kamala. She has to be the worst candidate for president I have ever seen. In 2019, she was trying to come out to the left of Bernie Sanders. That's what they said on CNN. So she supports the most psychotic things you can imagine. Sex changes for illegal immigrants. Are you nuts, lady? Apparently she is. I hope Donald Trump brings this up. And, tonight's the debate. It's fascinating. On Fox News, I don't know who was it. Was it Ainsley Earhart? Is that her name? Someone on the show said Trump needs to call her Madam Vice President. Do not call her Kamala or anything like that. Trump should be calling her Madam Vice President every opportunity he gets. It's actually a really great point. At Trump's rallies, he says, Kamala, or he when he posts on Truth, he says, Kamala. He shouldn't do that. Madam Vice President is the best nickname to give her. It reinforces everything about her failures and the failures of the Biden administration. Trump should be posting on Truth. We all know that Madam Vice President Harris is presiding over blah, 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 and she will do this and she will do that. Make sure everybody hears it. Because already we see in the New York Times poll, Times Siena poll, most people see her as the candidate of more of the same. And Donald Trump represents change. And change means victory. The economy is bad. They're lying about it. They're saying everything's great. Meanwhile, we get more and more bankruptcies from major retailers. That's not a good economy. Now, I don't know. They're saying statistically, it's all fine. Maybe the argument is that the way we shop is changing and these big retailers are going out of business because everyone's buying from Amazon, I guess. I don't think that's the case. You ask people and they're like, I'm not making money anymore. I was making money under Trump. You go to these well-to-do, uppity liberal neighborhoods and they're just like, everything's fine. But people get it, man. Take a look at this from Alex Brusewitz with the debate coming up. His just going to leave this here. Debate host ABC is the most biased of the big three. There you go. Harris coverage has been 100% positive. Trump coverage has been 93% negative. Oh, boy. I'd like to see the 7% coverage that is positive for Donald Trump. That would be interesting. Here we go. So let's get into it, baby. The Washington Post says what Harris and Trump need to do to win Tuesday's presidential debate. The two candidates face off just days before some states start mailing out ballots. Donald Trump needs to say, when immigration comes up, with all due respect to Madam Vice President Harris, she has utterly failed on the border. And I don't need to explain to you, the American people, how she did, because you feel it. You see it every day. The stories that we're getting of young people being murdered, children, the stories out of Springfield, Ohio, of migrants taking ducks from the park. And Kamala Harris, Madam Vice President, in 2019, this is CNN reporting, wanted sex change surgery for illegal immigrants. What is she thinking? I mean, how does Harris handle any of this? Not only is she miserably bad at this job, she lost every debate she's ever been in at the presidential level. So it's basically 2 primary cycles. She bombs miserably. Couldn't get a single delegate. Or actually, it's one primary. It was the last primary. Sorry, not 2 primary cycles. We had 2 primaries, but I say this more. I'll correct. What I mean to say is in the primary, she failed to get a single delegate. She's not able to muster up any support. And this time around, she didn't even debate anybody. She has no debate experience other than failure. Don't get me wrong. Failure is experience. What is it? I love that line in Avengers Infinity War in the beginning where Loki tries telling Thanos, he's like, you need me. I have experience. And he's like, if failure is experience. And I'm like, hey, whoa. Fair point. Failure is experience. The question is, can Kamala Harris learn from the failure? I don't think she can. I don't think she has the cognitive faculties nor the capability to actually improve upon where she is. She barely won her Senate race in California, and it's California. It's Democrat 2-1. That shouldn't have been a hard race for her. Well, let's see what the Washington Post has to say, because they're nuts. They say when Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump share the debate stage Tuesday night, voters will have their first and possibly only chance to view both candidates side by side in a matchup that started just about 7 weeks ago, blah, blah, blah. Harris needs to define herself as something new, not more of the same. Fair point. She does. She can't. What is she going to do? I mean, she's going to say, when I'm president, we are going to have to secure this border. We will secure this border. We will. And Trump's going to go, do it now. Do it right now. You're the vice president. You're the president of the Senate. You cast the tie-breaking votes. Do it now. Why didn't you do it in the past 3 years? And she's going to say, we actually had to pick up the failures of the Donald Trump administration and clean up that mess. That's what she's going to say. How much you want to bet? She's going to say, every time there's a problem, why didn't you do it now? She's going to say, I inherited a broken system a failing economy. We saw 7 million new jobs. We reduced the amount of border crossings. All of, the economy, people are still feeling, they're still struggling, they're still hurt, but we have turned this around. Donald Trump is going to bring it back to how bad it used to be. That's what her answer is going to be. She has pitched herself on the campaign trail as a real, and I'll pause. Trump should respond with, that's an absurdity. The first 3 years were tremendous. And when, even during the worst point, because Trump's got to be careful not to bring up COVID, even during our worst point, gasoline was $1.80. $1.80. And people know it. If you could not solve this problem in 4 years, why should you get 4 more? That's the question. He needs to really just nail down, this is 4 years of the exact same thing. If you want the same thing you're experiencing now, then perhaps Kamala is the right candidate for you. Maybe you're well off. You live in a nice area and you're profiting wonderfully off of short selling and private equity gutting of large retailers and the loss of jobs. Or maybe you're a regular hardworking American who doesn't understand why your groceries are going up, why you can't afford milk, bread, and eggs anymore. You can't understand why you can't afford to send your kids to school. You can't understand why you can't afford the bills and everything is more expensive or rent is up. And if you want change, you have to vote Donald Trump. They're going to say she has pitched herself on the campaign trail as a realist who can be trusted to use common sense. But in her 2020 primary run, she struggled to articulate clear positions and has been criticized for appearing to switch sides under political pressure. You see, Kamala Harris' strategy is, which lane can I occupy? So when it came down to 2020, in the primary, they said, you're not going to win as a moderate. You're going to have to go far left and try and win the primary using the activist vote. She's going to try to do the same thing. She's trying to walk it back a little bit. But that's why she's also saying, my values have not changed. I'm for these things, but my values have not changed. Kamala's strategy is going to be this. They're going to go online. They're going to post ads to young people where it's like, Kamala supports sex changes for detained migrants. Then when the ad for 65 plus, it's going to be Kamala supports securing the border. She's going to say whatever to convince people to vote for her. And then you know what you'll get? Garbage. Because when she wins, it'll be more of the same and nothing will change. You'll get more war. There's that, Now, what do they say of Donald Trump? Harris needs to bring her prosecutorial style to Trump, but not get dragged down. Trump needs to avoid attacking Harris's race and gender. I completely agree. If Trump does anything, okay, Trump's going to have to utilize. I wonder who's advising this guy. Trump's got to utilize what would be akin to what they call neg hits. Okay, you ever hear about these? Basically, they're backhanded compliments. You say something like, if there's a woman who's slightly overweight, you go, "Wow, you look great. Have you lost weight?" Highlighting a negative about them in a positive way, so it makes them self-conscious. Trump needs to highlight weaknesses of Kamala Harris in a way that isn't demeaning and off-putting. So Trump saying something like, highlighting that she is female without doing it as an insult. So bring up things that will call into question things that linger in the back of minds of the American people. Now, hold on. You may be saying, whoa, what do you mean about being female? That's right. I think many Americans are sexist. I think they absolutely are. Trump calling her Madam Vice President gets the job done. That's who she is. And it's funny. I said this yesterday. I'll say it again. The left gets so mad at me when I point out that there are sexist Americans who won't vote for a woman. And they call me sexist for saying it. I got no problem voting for a woman. I've donated to women. There are many female members of Congress who I support and have donated to. It's fascinating. The reality is there are a lot of people who don't want to. I guarantee you there's a guy out there right now sitting in his chair drinking a beer who's like a moderate, maybe even liberal. And he's sitting there being like, I ain't voting for no woman. And so he's going to vote for Trump or not vote for Kamala Harris. If y'all think I'm wrong about that, then go ahead and say America is not a sexist country, left, please. Okay, say that. I'm saying Trump can highlight these things that create uncertainty in the American mind. It was it Gerald Ford? People have been sending me this video where he said something like, the first female president will be a vice president who takes the presidency after, the president steps down or something. A lot of people think the October surprise is going to be Joe Biden stepping down and Kamala Harris becoming president. That'll give her a boost. She'll be the first female president of color. And the narrative is going to be, we can't let it end like this. They're going to go to everybody and say, could you imagine what the history books will write if the first female president was only president for a month? No. They're going to say, put your feelings aside. Let women run or rule or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And there'll be a lot of women who buy that. I don't know that'll be enough. Trump needs to come up with an answer on abortion. No, he doesn't. Trump would be smart to just not answer the question. And it's funny because Trump keeps jumping into the fray on this one, and he doesn't need to, okay? Let me tell you. Here's how you answer the question of abortion. You got to pull a politician answer on this one. Trump can give a soft answer and say, like all politicians do, and deflect. That's the reality. That's why they do it. Former President Trump, you've recently said that you want to keep the issue of abortion to the states to decide. Would you, if a federal abortion ban was brought to your desk, would you sign it? And then all he has to do is say, this issue is so contentious for Americans, but it's important that the American people decide. And that's what they're going to have to do. And so they're going to have to vote on this one. And I don't think it is my position to assert my morals here. We're going to let the American people decide. Now, I'll tell you what the real problem is, though. It's immigration. And that's what the politicians do. That's it. You can do better than that, to be completely honest. Like if someone came to me, you guys know my position on abortion, it's probably very similar to Donald Trump's. I do think there has to be an answer at the federal level, though I don't agree it should go to the states. I lean more, I would say, against abortion on the 14th Amendment question, but I'm also just more of a middle of the road on this one. Don't have a strong enough moral understanding or position to most people, so I can't give you a good answer. That's the reality. If someone asked me, I'd say, look, if a federal abortion ban came to me as president, would I sign off on it? Well, what you're kind of saying is if the American people, the members of Congress and the winners of the election and the Senate agree abortion should be banned, would I sign that? Why not? Of course I would. Listen, the math works out like this. If Congress wins, that means you're looking at the Congress represents the people and the Senate represents the states. I understand the purpose of a veto, and that's what you're looking for. But I also kind of feel like this issue is broad and understood enough to enough people that if everybody goes and votes for Congress and everybody goes and votes for the Senate, if they want to do this, so be it. But I'll say this as well. Maybe people don't want that. Maybe they vote for the candidates who aren't saying it. And if that's the case, it likely wouldn't even come to my desk. I feel like it's an absurd question, to be completely honest. You're basically saying if the will of the masses of this country support a House and a Senate that want to ban abortion at the federal level, would I support that? Well, it sounds like democracy, doesn't it? That sounds like the will of the people. If I were to say, no, I won't sign that, that would be anti-democratic. Again, explain this to me, spin it however you want. But if the people vote for members of Congress and those members of Congress present something, there's rare circumstances where you veto it. And injecting your morals to veto something is, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I think for procedural reasons, vetoes can make sense. Absolutely. That's the point of them. But, there you go. That's just it. If the American people don't want this, then they don't vote for these individuals. I suppose the issue is if you're playing it politically and you want to protect members of Congress, you could say, I don't care if they win, I will veto it. Then what ends up happening is there are going to be more moderate individuals who might say, well, I'll vote for the Republican because their policies are better and the abortion ban's not going to go through anyway because the president won't allow it. Maybe. It's a difficult game, I got to tell you. The difficult game. This is no easy answers. So that's what we got. We got a couple, here we go. Kamala Harris's last Republican rival has some debate advice for Donald Trump. I don't think Trump needs it. I don't think he needs it. New poll delivers warning signals for Harris. And I got to just end here, ladies and gentlemen. 64.4% chance to win. Now, here's the best part. What we saw from the New York Times poll, they said Trump's up 1, but they also didn't show you that they have different results. Trump is up 2 points in 3 of the outcomes of this poll. And 1 point, that's the one they show. It's going to be interesting, my friends. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show if you do like it. We got more coming up for you. The next segment, government could shut down before the election because Democrats don't like the idea of banning banning illegal immigrant voting. They say it's already illegal. You don't need proof. And now the government might shut down. So we're going to talk about that one. But before we do, we are going to get into your super chat. So smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Super chat now. 1 like equals 1 fight, fight, fight. You know why I like that one? Because, before Joe Biden dropped that, I said 1 like equals 1 FJB. And it's funny, but it's just, it's negative. You know what I mean? Fight, fight, fight is positive and it's optimistic. So that's why I like the 1 like equals 1 fight, fight, fight. Because I don't got to disparage someone and be in the negative side of things. I think we want to be on the positive side of things. And Donald Trump said, fight, fight, fight. And so we will. I'm not your buddy guy says, just imagine waking up as Kamala today, knowing the world will finally see you for who you are. No amount of spin could save Biden. It won't save you. I feel zero sympathy for this woman and look forward to tonight. I do too, but hey, don't count your chickens, man. Kamala Harris, don't underestimate your opponents. You ever see that video where it's MMA and the guy does that noodle dance and then immediately gets cracked in the face and just gets knocked out? Yeah, don't do that. You look stupid. You know what I mean? He did like a wave thing with his hands and then the guy I think he punches him right in the face and he just goes down. And it's like, I get it to taunt. You're trying to anger your opponent. You're trying to throw him off or whatever. But come on, top of the top, best fighters in the world. You gotta fight serious, man. Stay focused. So if you're gonna sit here and say, haha, Kamala's gonna lose, she's gonna lose. I don't know, man. They are setting things up. Why? Okay, Lichtman says Harris will win. Silver says Trump is 2-1 to win right now. It's the perfect story. Nate Silver gets everybody mad and says Trump's winning. Then the debate happens. And how do you prove Kamala won the debate when she didn't? She does well enough that Nate Silver then says, whoa, look at this. Kamala is shooting up in the probability to win. Wow. Talk about turning it around. And that is the underdog story they're looking for. Kamala Harris I don't know that happens. I don't know. I'm just saying. Be prepared for anything. Furious George says, since Kamala has also taken the no tax on tips position, Trump should propose no tax on overtime. Yep. That'd be a good one. Barely a Millennial says, just want to clarify my super chat from last night. Chester stood up against sex crimes. Emily Armstrong defends them. That's why she's a disgrace. I still got to listen to the new song they put out, but I'm not into it. I got no beef. She seems nice, I guess. I don't know her. But Linkin Park's got a new singer, and Hybrid Theory is an amazing album, by the way. But I just don't think it works. It sounds like a little kid trying to sound like Chester. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean. It just does, All right, here we are. Samuel rises. Harris is playing possum. Expect the unexpected. Agree. Eli Betakovich says, GF broke up with me Friday and I got food poisoning. This week has been ish for me, but still looking better than Kamala. We don't need angry. Adrian Contreras says, we don't need angry Trump. His supporters are already going to vote for him. We need the moderates to see him being presidential. Agreed. Rob Morgan says, any plans for whole bean graphene dream? I don't know. Because I think for the repped coffees like the Alex Stein and the Ian, we're only doing ground because it's easier for them to sell than whole bean. Whole bean's hard to sell. That's why we still have some Mr. Bokus whole bean left, All right. Ian says the only thing that'll happen to Crossland is he will lick a crystal and ascend. One of these days. All right, here we go. Saddle Effing Tramp says, I do not want a Timcast custom coffee blend. Also, I do not have information that would lead to the arrest of the Clintons. Ha. That would be a funny one. Jason Dixon says, Tim, the Border Patrol all speak Spanish, Russian, Arabic, and Chinese. Not every single one, but someone with an earshot speaks these languages. I know. They're Border Patrol. It's just funny to think that you have this potential for, imagine a movie, it's like Juana Man. Remember that one? It's like, he was a migrant coming for the American dream. And then it's like he fills out a form and checks the wrong box. But after a administrative mix-up, and then he's like, oh, no. And it's like, you're getting a sex change. You know, like, why are they offering sex changes to illegal immigrants? It's the weirdest thing. It's just like, she's just mashing left. Like, dude, what would the equivalent on the right be? Like, what's a right-wing position? I don't know. Having kids, it would be like it would be like if they did a matchmaking thing for illegal immigrants to have children while they're in detain. Like, we want to have families and think people should have kids, so we're gonna bring different migrants together so they can have families. It's just mashing things together that shouldn't be mashed together. All right. AK Storm says, have you thought about doing a yearly video about your positions and how they've changed? It may help people understand your thinking in a single video rather than go through hundreds of shows. I don't believe it's possible. That would require me to go through hundreds of shows. And I will say this. There's an old tweet where I said that I oppose the death penalty in all circumstances and no one deserves to die. And I would slightly amend that as probably not that my position's changed, but the context is important to that one. And it's that I don't think people should die if we have the means to not have them die. And the instance where someone has forfeited their right to life is different. There are legal areas where, such as self-defense. If you are protecting someone from serious bodily harm or death, then the individual, and I don't mean this, I'm not trying to gloat. Like, I want to make sure everyone understands this. I don't like it when people die. But what I mean is that they've forfeited their right to life is that everybody is protected. You cannot take action to end their life unless there are certain actions codified in law, such as trying to kill somebody, where now someone can use force against you, which may take your life. That would mean that you have decided to take action that has opened up your life to be ended. Again, I will never be for the death penalty. And I will give you the simple version. Y'all, everybody in the world can come to me and say, look at this guy. Look at the thing he did. He admitted it. There's video of him doing it. And I'll say, absolutely, I understand that. But that doesn't justify an institutionalized mechanism by which people like Kamala Harris can go to 12 random strangers who aren't smart enough to get out of jury duty. She can then point to a guy and say, trust me, he should be killed. And they're going to go, okay. The idea that you can prove definitively, you can, and you as the judge know, does not justify a federal institutionalized mechanized system of killing people. And I make this point when people say, yes, but I know that guy did this. He admitted it. We have video of him doing it. I'll be like, right. Are you going to be in every single instance the judge to determine should someone lose their life with definitive proof? You're not? Okay. You're going to hand that responsibility to people like Kamala Harris? Yeah. Okay. I'm not interested in that. Just not. Sorry. Not. I'll give you this though. Here's a compromise. If you are convicted of egregious crimes that would warrant the death penalty, I say we take a small boat, we put you on the boat, we kick the boat. We have a GPS tracker in the boat, and we just don't come back. There you go. You know, or maybe the island. I like the idea of the island. Let's find an island that's like, let's just say 20 miles in circumference. 20 miles, so arable land. And if you would get the death penalty, we just put you on the island and we say, we don't want to risk killing an innocent person. So we're going to just let you live your life and figure it out here away from us. There you go. I accept that. I think that's fine. And some people are like, but that's just the death penalty, but worse. No. Okay. If there's a 1 in 10,000 chance, it's more than that, actually. If there's a 1 in 1,000 chance, I think it's actually 1 in like 300. So it's scary. Where an innocent person could be put to death. Tell you what, don't take their life, but now they don't get access to society. Okay, you've been convicted. We're not going to lock you in a box. We're going to put you on an island where you can do whatever you want. Just don't come back. Don't come back because we will defend ourselves. I think it's a better answer to I think what people don't realize is innocent people do die on death row. And I want you to understand, or even just try and empathize and think about sitting in a cell for 20 years, knowing you are innocent. Everyone is screaming at you that you're evil and despicable and that you deserve to die and you did nothing wrong. and you're begging for help. And then I want you to imagine being walked down to the lethal injection, being laid on a table as everyone scorns and spits on you, and you know you did nothing wrong. And then they look you in the eyes and say, now you will die. And that's a horrifying thought. That, too many, I don't accept a single innocent person being murdered by the state to justify the mechanized death penalty. That being said, put them on a boat, exile. Because then it's like, think about that. Imagine you're like, I'm innocent. And they're like, well, maybe. So we're not going to kill you. We're going to put you on this boat and send you off to an island where you'll have to just live. Good luck. You no longer get the benefits of society. Okay. At least we're not killing you. All right. Let's grab a couple more. All right. Bronson Martin says, Tim, try this phrase out and see how it hits you. I refuse to certify any electoral vote for a convicted felon. I win. Kamala counts the votes. Indeed. But they took away the ability of the vice president to do stuff like that. It's a matter of what Congress will do. Kevin Logano says, I bought the last Mr. Boca's pumpkin spice ground bag at $10.50 last night. And yes, I live in Springfield, Ohio. Shout out. Keep up the great work, Tim. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, Casper's stuff's getting going. It's getting going. All right. Ultraviolet says, or it's Ultraviolet says, the polling the last 2 weeks rubs me the wrong way. Not enough change to justify Trump's sudden jump unless they stopped weighing heavy dem. The Critical Pigeon says McNeil Island in Tacoma, Washington is a sex offender island in Tacoma, Washington. Really? They like put them all there or something? I'm saying island is the way to go. That way, imagine you're innocent. And everyone's screaming at you, you're evil, you're a monster. And they go, look, maybe you are innocent. Go live somewhere else. At least you get to live somewhere else. And if you're a criminal, we're removing you. And here's the best part. We don't got to pay. Death row, 20 years. We're paying how much money for these people that are convicted? No, I think the island is the solution. You get convicted right away. You go to the island. You can appeal. You file appeals from the island. Your lawyers work on the mainland. And that's what you do. OK. That's what you do. And then you'll have to farm or hunt and build shelter. That's your problem, not mine. Let's go. What is this? John Marafa says, let's turn Martha's Vineyard into a penal colony. Ha ha. Nah, come on. All right, here we go. We got this one from the New York Post. The government may shut down before Election Day because Republicans are attaching the rule requiring proof of citizenship to vote, and Democrats are saying, no, we don't want that. Come on. There's only one reason for this. It's because they want non-citizens to vote, and non-citizens have. Or it's just obstructionist, but really, you have to wonder about this one. The New York Post reports, the U.S. government could halt non-essential functions weeks before the November 5th presidential election as congressional Democrats dig in against a House Republican spending bill that would enact more stringent proof of citizenship rules for voting. House Speaker Mike Johnson has included wording from the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act in the lower chamber's pending continuing resolution, which must pass by September 30th to keep D.C.'s lights on, at the urging of former President Donald Trump, the Republican presidential nominee. Well, good. Members of Congress returned to Capitol Hill Monday from their August recess, with Democratic leaders calling the SAVE Act unnecessary and likely to deter voting, and Republicans pointing out past bipartisan support and saying it's currently too difficult to verify voters' citizenship status. In addition to drawing stiff opposition from Democrats in both chambers and the White House, which called the voting provision a poison pill, the House GOP package, which would fund the government through March 28th, has failed to pacify Republican fiscal hawks who loathe temporary spending bills. Every fiscal year, which starts on October 1st, Congress must fund the government either through 12 separate appropriations bills or via a so-called continuing resolution. I despise this, by the way. With Republicans holding a narrow 220 to 211 advantage in the House, Johnson has limited leverage ahead of the spending fight. Trump helped redirect the debate to... Now, look at this. This is Trump, 78, helped redirect... Why did they put his age in it? We know who Trump is. Adding to the controversial provision means Democrats can't be counted on to help pass bills in the House and can block the legislation in the Senate. I would shut down the government in a heartbeat if they don't get it, Trump said in a recent interview. It should be in the bill. And if it's not in the bill, you want to close it up. So I'm not there, but, I have influence. as President Trump led the U.S. into a 35-day partial shutdown in late 2018 of over funding demands for a U.S.-Mexico border wall, which the then president ultimately financed with redirected defense appropriations. A pre-election partial shutdown would likely spark an intense blame game due to the possibility of federal workers missing paychecks and the closure of public facilities such as national parks. 5 Democrats voted in favor of the SAVE Act when it came up for vote in July. The proposal requires that people registering to vote present state officials. Wait, what? Present. You see, these homonyms. Present state officials with documents that prove their citizenship, including passports, state-issued real IDs that indicate a person's citizenship or naturalization certificates. The 6-month window for the CR is part of an effort by Johnson to buy time until after the election and the possible return of Trump to the White House and Republicans to the Senate majority to boost the GOP's negotiating posture. Rep. Rosa DeLauro, the ranking member of the House Appropriations Committee, argued last week that a continuing resolution that ends in December, rather than one that lasts a half a year, is better. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Appropriations Committee Chairwoman Patty Murray also panned the Speaker's proposal. Speaker Johnson is making the same mistake as former Speaker Kevin McCarthy did a year ago by wasting precious time catering to the hard MAGA right. This tactic didn't work last September, and it will not work this year either. The House Republicans' funding proposal is an ominous case of deja vu. Backlash from both sides. Look at this one. Democrats aren't the only opponents to whom Johnson will have to contend. I'm voting hell no on the CR and other Matter Act this week. I don't care which bright, shiny object is attached to it or which fake fight we start and won't finish. Congress is spending our country into oblivion, and this bill doesn't cut spending. I like this Thomas Massey guy. And I always stress, I disagree with him on many things, but he's a good dude. Probably the best guy we have in Congress, to be honest. Well, actually, no. My favorite is Matt Gaetz. I think Matt Gaetz is the best. I do. He stood up to Kevin McCarthy in a way that just nothing compares to that. The billion-dollar IOU speakership system smacked in the face by Gaetz leading the charge on that one. And the other members of Congress who joined him deserve a shout out as well. But, shout out to Matt Gaetz. Rep. Corey Mills also cited the ballooning national debt in opposing a CR tied to the SAVE Act, while noting that voting law wouldn't be implemented in time to make a difference in the elections. The only guarantee in this CR at the Pelosi COVID emergency spending levels is furtherance to national debt and economic collapse while bankrupting the middle class, he wrote on X. I'm a no on bankrupting the nation and yes on election integrity. Matt Rosendale, who is retiring at the end of the year, also expressed his opposition to Johnson's plan. I wasn't sent to Washington to play politics and pass disingenuous messaging bills. My job is to deliver real results, and that starts with passing all 12 appropriations bills on time, no exceptions. Here. I'm not a fan, okay? Did they mention Matt Gaetz' position? They say, they have a picture of Matt Gaetz here, has refrained from revolting against Speaker Mike Johnson. See, this is an interesting one, because the idea being, if we get voter security and voter integrity, maybe Republicans can win enough to actually start shutting down the bad spending. However, Donald Trump was spending like crazy as well. I am not convinced that we are going to get legitimate reductions in spending under the Republicans or the Democrats. I don't like the Republican Party. I don't like the Democratic Party. It just so happens that there's a handful of Republicans that are actually pretty good for whatever reason. Now, Biden's pissed. He says he'll veto the funding proposal if passed by Congress. So we got this Executive Office of the President, Office of Management and Budget Statements, Statement of Administration Policy, September 9th. They say the administration strongly opposes House passage of H.R. 9494, making continuing appropriations for fiscal year 2025 and for other purposes. Instead of working in a bipartisan manner to keep the government open and provide emergency funding for disaster needs, House Republicans have chosen brinksmanship. I'm over it, man. They're full of it. Now, the first thing they do here in the statement is smart. Okay, they're playing the game of it's not funding enough. This bill doesn't go far enough. And then at the bottom, they say this. Instead of meeting the security and disaster needs of the nation, the bill includes unrelated, cynical legislation that would do nothing to safeguard our elections, but would make it much harder for all eligible Americans to register to vote and increase the risk that eligible voters are purged from voter rolls. This legislation is unnecessary. It is already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. It is a federal crime punishable by prison and fines. Okay, I have a proposal for you. I agree with you. Joe Biden, Democrats, we're going to remove the, I say we remove the SAFE Act from this because it's already illegal. Then we're going to remove gun-free zones. Then we're going to abolish we're going to overturn the National Firearms Act. And we're going to say, hey, we don't need to ban guns. We don't need to put restrictions on this. It's already illegal to shoot people. So there we go. We don't need any extra layers of security. It's already illegal to commit crimes. So what do we need police for? Right? Oh, well, Democrats might agree on the police part of that, but they certainly aren't going to abolish gun laws and restore people's unfettered gun rights. So spare me your fake arguments, okay? If it's pointless and does nothing, then let it ride. Who cares? You get your spending. Of course, that's the reason why. In the beginning, they say it fails to address key emergency funding needs because they're going to say, no. I mean, we do think it's bad legislation for the SAFE Act, or the SAVE Act, or whatever it is. But the real issue is it's not providing funding enough. Sure. Well, here you go. Why this story is from just 2 days ago. DOJ. Illegal immigrants stole U.S. citizens' identity to vote in multiple elections, obtain American passport. Okay, now, guys, I got to tell you, all right? This is the Department of Justice that is saying this, and I'll stress this again, as I do often. We've talked about this months ago. There are criminal elements in the DOJ that are politically motivated, and you can see them going after Trump, going after Trump supporters in his closest circle. But what do you say to this? Honest question. If the DOJ is calling out an illegal immigrant who stole a U.S. citizen's identity to vote in multiple elections and get a passport, I mean, this is one of the most egregious things an illegal immigrant could have done. It's not just oops, I didn't know I couldn't vote. It's literally stealing someone's identity. So make your arguments. I suppose the argument is the DOJ does things like this so that they look legitimate. One argument you'll get from the Democrats is that, no, it's because the DOJ is good and they're justice and Trump's a criminal. I think it's actually a mixed bag of politics, and you can't predict what their true motives are. They don't want Trump to win. They are heavily focused on going after Trump and trying to shut him down. And there is, you have to ask yourself who benefits. That's what Alex Jones always said. Why is it that the DOJ would bring something like this up? Honest question. I don't think it's fair to say because they're good guys and they're just trying to stop crime. I don't believe it. Not for a second. But there's a possibility. I do. Because I mentioned this before that I've met with people who work in intelligence, and they say it's the same on the inside as it is on the outside. So I wonder what that means today. Are we actually going to start seeing internal revolt from people at the DOJ? Stressing this point. You had that dude at the Southern District of New York that Steven Crowder's Mug Club undercover captured on camera saying the charges against Donald Trump are a travesty of justice. They're wrong. It's fake, blah, blah, blah. He publicly came out and said, I don't actually think that. I was just trying to impress a woman, which I got something to say about that, right? Anyway, privately, we know this dude understands what's going on. I'm wondering if we will ever get to the point where the DOJ actually has that critical mass where people are just like, enough, right? But considering that dude then came out and said, I don't believe that. I was just trying to impress someone. Well, okay. My question is to that guy at the DOJ, do you often lie to women to impress them? I wonder if he's married. I don't know. Makes you wonder. Was he trying to do something untoward and trying to impress this woman so she would believe him by lying to her? I don't know. That sounds pretty bad to me. Lying to a woman to impress her. Well, on the surface, there's nothing illegal about it. It just seems a little creepy, as it were. Unfortunately, for this guy, that's the path he decided. This dude could have come out and said, I stand by what I say. Those are my opinions. It doesn't represent the DOJ. It represents my personal feelings on what went down with Donald Trump. But instead, he's like, no, I didn't mean it. So I don't know. I get conflicted on these things, right? Because what are you supposed to say to this? This is tremendously good for our ask and our demands. The fact that the DOJ has come out and said illegal immigrants stole U.S. citizens' identity to vote in multiple elections, obtain American passport, perhaps. The reason they're doing that is this. If an illegal immigrant wants to vote, they'll just fake an identity anyway. So what's the point of banning it? Maybe that's the argument. I don't know. But I can tell you, when we get news where we can come out and show that even the DOJ agrees illegal immigrants are trying to vote, I think this is justification for the SAVE Act. We say right here, 2 days ago, the DOJ said illegal immigrants stole a person's identity to vote. And they do vote. So, maybe we need this bill. Here we go. Arizona's proof of citizenship law heads back to the courts amid fears of non-citizen voting. Fox News Digital speaks to Arizona residents who are overwhelmingly in favor of proof of citizenship. It's going back. Everybody was celebrating. Woo, Arizona's going to require proof of citizenship. Nah, it's going back to court. They say an Arizona law that requires residents to show proof of citizenship in order to be able to vote in elections is before the courts again on Tuesday after the Supreme Court allowed parts of the law to be enforced. And amid national concerns about non-citizen voting, Arizona's law will be before a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals panel on Tuesday for oral arguments over the law, which was initially blocked by a lower court earlier this year. The law would require those registering to vote to provide proof of citizenship. The Supreme Court allowed the enforcement of restrictions that block people from voting in state and local elections. But those who have registered without that proof can still vote in presidential and congressional elections with a different federal form. That form requires them to swear they are citizens under penalty of perjury. Justice Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Justice Neil Gorsuch would have granted the application in full, while Sotomayor, Kagan, and Amy Coney Barrett, Ketanji Brown Jackson, would have denied the application in full. Oh, that's interesting. Wait, hold on. Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch would have granted it, but then you had Sotomayor, Kagan, Coney Barrett. So the women, Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh, provided a compromise of sorts with their deciding votes. The now stalled 2022 state law requiring proof of citizenship was challenged by civil rights groups and the Arizona Democratic Party. It comes amid years-long concerns by Republicans in particular about the potential for non-citizens voting in U.S. elections. This week, the U.S. DOJ said an illegal immigrant reached an agreement to plead guilty to charges related to stealing a U.S. citizen's identity to vote in multiple elections and fraudulently obtaining a passport. Meanwhile, in Congress, Republicans have looked to tie a bill to require proof of citizenship before registering to vote in federal elections. That's just silly. It's just an ID. I got my ID. I'm a citizen. They say, okay, here you go. It's nuts, man. Well, I'd like to give my leftist friends an opportunity to rebut. Salon. Experts warn GOP using great replacement fears to push new voter suppression tactics. The great replacement conspiracy theory. Heavens me. What's going on, Salon? Help. As Republicans across the country sound alarms over the potential for illegal non-citizen voting in the upcoming presidential election and roll out measures to prevent it, they've painted a picture suggesting the matter is a widespread fraud that threatens the legitimacy of the results. But experts say the opposite is true, and instead, these efforts to curtail what is effectively a non-issue amount to little more than voter suppression tactics. Interesting. Hinging their claims on an influx of migrants in recent years, GOP officials and activists have increasingly mounted concerns about the potential for non-citizen voting as November approaches. We get it. Tell me about the great replacement, Salon. Tell me about it. What do you got, huh? Federal law requires, Brennan Center analysis, Cato Institute, blah, blah, blah. During a news conference, are they going to bring up great replacement at all even? They rely on this, they rely on that. Ken Paxton established Wednesday a dedicated email account for reports of suspected violations of election laws, blah. Well, I'm gonna have to try and get to the point on you this one. Here you go. Haydock argued that the Republican mobilization behind the claims also lays the groundwork for them to place unsubstantiated blame on non-citizens, contest elections, draw out the elections, create chaos, and maybe motivate people to go do another January 6th. Oh, heavens me. Quote, the great replacement fears, immigration restrictions, the rationale to have voter ID of proof of citizenship, all of these are basically voter suppression tactics, which have been in the process or enacted in many states around the country, and they want to do that on a national level. I am in favor of voter suppression, not in that context. Like, I'm saying I'm in favor of legally making it more difficult to vote. Like, you got to have an ID, at least. I'm in favor of that. I think it feeds into the whole notion of who are the rightful holders of this cherished power, the right to vote. Who are the real Americans? What is the nature of America? It links to these broad debates that are happening in the country. The Great Replacement, they call it. Oh, here's Daily Mail. Black Chicagoans slam Mayor Johnson for replacing them with migrants, demanding reparations carve out on $6,000 a year property taxes that whites, Asians, and Hispanics would stop to pay. Oh, they're being replaced. The black mayor of Chicago is replacing black Chicagoans. That's what they're saying. It's a funny thing about how they play this game of great replacement theory. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think Salon mentioned that it was about white people, but they try and put that on Tucker Carlson. And so here we are. Chicago activists are bashing Mayor Brandon Johnson for trying to replace blacks with migrants and demanding an exemption from the $6,000 per year property taxes that other groups would still have to pay. Howard Ray, a Chicago reparations activist, this week revived his Reconstruction-era Reparation Act Now campaign that carves out from property taxes for black households, saying Chicago's migrant surge was hurting African Americans. Let's talk about reparations real quick. I'm against them. I'll tell you why. It's supposed to be 40 acres and a mule. That's what they said, right? All right. Well, in 1865, you didn't have that many people to give 40 acres and a mule to. The idea now that we would pay reparations to the descendants of slaves exponentially increased. I don't see that being practical anymore. But let's just do this. We got 330 million Americans. It's around 13% of the population is black. So we're looking at around, what is that going to give us? About 40 million. How many? Let me make sure I get the number right. How many Americans are black? 47.9 million. All right. So let's do 47.9 million times 40. 1,916,000,000. Okay. All right. Now let's do this. How many acres is the U.S.? The U.S. is 2.3 billion acres. So in order to pay reparations today, we would have to give just about half of the total landmass of the United States. Wait, and that includes bodies of water? Ah, geez. All right. See, we can't do that. Okay, you can't do it. Sorry. How many acres is the U.S.? Let's ask our good friend ChatGPT because we'll start breaking this down. 2.43 billion acres in size. Okay, not including. How about this? Only including livable landmass. There you go. Let's see what old ChatGPT has to say. The livable landmass of the United States is 1.9 billion acres. So we'd have to give just about half. Yeah, we can't. You can't do that. And so a lot of people talk about what you can do, but I can tell you this, outside of the whole reparations argument, Chicagoans, the black community, feel like they're being replaced by illegal immigrants. That's bad for Democrats. If they're going to make the claim that the reason Republicans are worried about voting and all this stuff, it's because great replacement and white people are angry, I'm sorry, I got news for you. Black Americans feel like they're being replaced. So y'all are racist when you say that. It's racist. That's a reality. Now, I love this. Here you go. Springfield discredits rumors that immigrants are abducting and eating pets. Ohio AG gets involved. I got to be honest. I don't think Haitians are eating people's pets. This came out of a video where a woman stomped on a cat, and it turned out she was an American. She was registered to vote, all that stuff. Probably just a crazy lady. However, there are reports that migrants have been eating animals. Haitians have been reported by the locals in the area as capturing ducks and eating them. And people are shocked by this. Duck hunting is legal in certain seasons. So I guess the issue is people don't like it that they're going to the park and catching and beheading ducks in front of their children and things like that. But this story went viral yesterday. It's from March 6th, 2023. 2 illegal Honduran migrants are arrested after shooting down a bald eagle that they planned to cook and eat in Nebraska, as sheriff reveals the local community is in uproar. I don't think that bald eagles are endangered anymore. Let me just run a quick check. Are bald eagles endangered? They were at one point, I think. They are not endangered. They were removed from the U.S. endangered species list in 2007 due to successful conservation efforts, though they are still protected by law. And they should be, because they are the America bird. And so these guys came and shot and killed one because they wanted to eat it. That is a crime. So I can understand why people are upset about this. When people come out and say, hey, we are concerned about what's going on, it is an absurdity, in my opinion, that the media and the Democrats act like none of this is happening. You've had reports from a year ago, just about a year ago, of the illegal migrant gangs in Colorado saying, be careful, watch out. Then when the right starts saying, hey, guys, look at this, the media then immediately comes out and says, not happening, not true. Absurdity. I think the mistake that people are making here is the pets thing, as if to imply that Haitian migrants are like breaking into people's yards and stealing small dogs and cats. Maybe that's the case. I don't know that that's true. I've not seen evidence of this. So again, maybe I'm wrong, but I've not seen evidence of it. I have seen evidence of locals complaining to the city that Haitian migrants are camping on their lawns and they're eating ducks. And there's this is funny. When unwanted migrants start killing our pets to eat them and illegally poaching federally protected birds with no consequence. And they put themselves on the alt-right. And it's this viral photo of a guy carrying a goose. Now look, don't know who that guy is. Don't know what's up with that goose. But look, I think it's fair to say when locals keep making videos about Haitian migrants causing problems, there's a problem going on. If you want to get super specific and post these pictures of like AI photos of Trump rescuing ducks and cats, it's funny, I guess, but I just got to say, man, I don't know. It's a wild time. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com to support our work. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. For everybody watching live, I will now jump to your super chats. And of course, the next story we have for you is Candace Owens getting suspended. She blames Zionists. Oh boy, we can talk about Israel. We can talk about, dude, I got to say, I tweeted Slava Ukraini. And I put so here's what happens. As a troll, I tweet Slava Ukraini. Okay, and look, as a country, I like Ukraine. I've been there several times. I have friends who are from there. As a government, it's fallen apart. It's chaos. I don't know why. I do know why the U.S. wants to be involved in the war. I don't think we should. I think Russia's in the wrong for the invasion and all that stuff. And look at me, milk those fence sitter, right? But I tweeted Slava Ukraini. Nobody cared. And then the other day, Elad was on the show, and before the show started, I had my Twitter pulled up, and I have the Ukrainian and Israeli flags in my name now because I'm pro-war now, right? And so anyway, I said to Elad, I was like, "Do you approve?" And he said something like, "The Israeli." I don't know if he said this. Someone else said the Israeli flag should be in front, and then he said, "If you really want to get him mad, you have to tweet Am Israel Chai." Or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. I asked him, I was like, what's the Slava Ukraini of Israel? And it was like, oh, I'm Israel Chai. And I was like, okay. And he was like, you should tweet that. They'll really go nuts. And I was like, okay. And then I did. And everyone's just busting out laughing. I like Israel. I do. I mean, I got questions about their military strategy and all that stuff. But I got to tell you, people lost their minds. Dude, that one really shattered brains. Screw off, man. It's so dumb. People are so obsessed with Israel. I said Slava Ukraini first, and nobody cared, okay? And we've given them 200 some odd billion dollars, okay? That being said, on a scale of how I feel about countries, Ukraine gets a 5 and Israel gets a 6. Meaning, like, I've been to Israel. I like it. I think a lot of these Middle Eastern countries are they are theocratic, authoritarian countries I am no fan of. And I've been to Israel, and I thought it was lovely. But there's a lot going on, and I think there's fair criticisms of that country. So I always just say this. Look, by all means, criticize a government for what they do. And a lot of people have serious criticisms of Israel's government. And that's fair. What I don't like is the weird obsession with Israel being responsible for literally everything. Okay? Like when we had a guy on the show who claimed the fentanyl crisis in West Virginia was amplified by Israel. I'm just like, what? Bro, come on. It is so circuitous. You are making so many leaps, and I argue that the people who think Israel's responsible for everything are basically like those who believed in the geocentric universe. You're looking at the planet spinning and spiraling in weird ways, and you're like, planets just be weird. We're at the center of the universe, when the reality was that we're actually revolving around the sun. I digress. Let's read some super chats, and then we'll jump into the story with Candace Owens. All right. Here we go. David says, about the DOJ, it shows head of DOJ doesn't have full propaganda power, and there are woke and non-woke members in the different departments of the DOJ, and I believe that is true. Like, there are people who work for the FBI and for other intelligence who live and were born in West Virginia, and they're in MAGA country, and they support Trump. The issue is the leadership. Currently, because the administration is Democrat, you get a Democrat leadership administration. So they begin to focus on things that are aligned with Democrats. But that doesn't mean every single, it's an absurdity to think that literally every Fed is going to be anti-Trump. Certainly doesn't mean you trust them, because their interests are only their own, but I think it's fair to say, you see this in industry as well. It's the same inside as outside. And the other thing to consider, too, is when you look at what Robbie Starbuck is doing with going after these woke companies, many of them aren't even actually woke. They're just doing what they think is popular and safe. It may be that a large portion of the people in the DOJ are just doing these things because they think it's what they need to do to protect their jobs. With Trump becoming more popular, you may start to see a shift. And then I'm going to tell you, one of these days, or even when Donald Trump wins, understand this, and this is important. When Trump wins, hoping he does, he's going to appoint an attorney general, and there's going to be a deputy attorney general, and the FBI is going to be the ones doing these investigations. So if and when Donald Trump does begin to investigate people who were committing voter fraud or were just generally corrupt, it's going to be the DOJ. And I don't want to hear none of this, where people are like right now saying the DOJ is bad and abolish, blah, blah, blah. And then when Trump wins, they're going to be like, yeah, go FBI, you get him. No. Okay. I believe in equality under the law. I believe right now, look, if I see a story from the FBI arresting traffickers, I just say, okay, good. Praise where praise is due. And I think it's important to be wary of that, because it's going to be, y'all will look really silly when Trump appoints his AG and the FBI starts going after people you want them to go after. And then all of a sudden it's like you go from saying abolish the FBI to praising the FBI or whatever. So I don't know, man. I think it's fair to say that the big concern is like the DC Bureau. And, All right, let's go. Waffle Sense says, why do we get asked for ID when buying alcohol? It's already illegal to purchase alcohol under the age of 21. That's right. It's already a crime. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Let's grab a couple more here. Mary F says, hi, Tim. I am from Dominican Republic originally, and my aunt's cat got killed and eaten by a legal Haitian immigrant. That is something they do. Where do you live now? Crazy to hear. But we need you to make a video. Like if this is happening to you, we need people to come out and say it's happening, and we need heavy evidence on this one. Bill Bigsby says, you going to watch Matt Walsh's Am I Racist when it releases this weekend? You should do a song for one of the Daily Wire films. Be a great collab. I don't know, maybe. We have a song coming out later this month. I think it's called Coming Home. And I think it's great. So we, Phil Labonte, Carter Banks, and I collaborated on writing this one out. I had a guitar riff and a vocal melody for a verse, and that was about it. And I've had it for a long, long time. And I'd written some lyrics, and the song it's called Coming Home. It's about the degradation of our cities, the collapse of our once great cities, and what they used to look like and what they look like today. Take a look at Chicago and San Francisco and things like this. And so it's kind of sad. But I could never really figure out where to go with the song and how to do a chorus. But with the help of Carter Banks and Phil Labonte, we put together a complete song with a bridge, a chorus, a post-chorus, and then Phil is actually, so it's two verses of me singing, and then it ends with Phil taking over. As an honor to have a song together with Phil Labonte of All That Remains, platinum recording artist, by the way, and to have him sing the finale, big breaking point of the song with Pete Prada on drums as well, and we filmed the music video for it. And so that will be likely on September 27th, I think. Let me check the date. Yeah, the 27th. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's the date we're looking at. And so we'll have more information coming up. But it's cultural commentary, you know. It's not overtly political, but it kind of is. We don't say anything in it like, you know, it's basically the story is someone, the song is telling the story of coming home and seeing what's become of your town and what it used to be and what it is now. And it's lamenting the fact. And it also complains that the generations that came before us have let us down. And that's unfortunate. All right. Zach Yandel says, chat, you guys are silly. Tim, you guys are doing God's work. You question everything and you seek truth when faced with vicious slander. God bless. Thank you all very much. Really do appreciate it. Man, the Israel thing really gets people going. Let's go. Let's talk about Israel. Everyone loves that, right? All right. Candace Owens, suspended from YouTube over Kanye West interview, immediately blames Zionists. Now, I don't know that she literally did blame Zionists. She said, we all know who's behind this, but I think she then posted an image showing like people who are Jewish trying to report her video. I'm going to start off by saying this. They should not have taken her video down. Kanye West is one of the most famous people in the world. Candace Owens, in her own right, is one of the most famous people in the world. Now, with the caveat of, it's a big list, but Candace Owens is massively famous. And they want to have a conversation. They should be allowed to have a conversation. YouTube issued a strike, a suspension, and removal of her video. So she can't do the show for a week. And they removed her from the YouTube partner program. Now, I'll say this. I think it is fine that YouTube removed her from the partner program. I roll my eyes a little silly, but having YouTube do ad sales for you is very different from having your speech revoked or shut down, right? They should not have banned Candace Owens for this. Shout out to Dave Smith. He said, this is appalling. There you go. He says, this is appalling. Where are all those anti-woke free speech warrior Zionists now? They are probably all thrilled about this because they never really believed in free speech. YouTube should correct this immediately. Silencing speech that you disagree with is despicable and makes the world a worse place. So Candace Owens tweeted, there will be no show today or at all this week. That's because YouTube has issued me a strike and a 1-week suspension for my sit down with Kanye. They also removed the interview as hate speech as it was mass reported by Zionists. Their tactics never change. So she literally did blame Zionists. Additionally, the video, here's what it says from YouTube. Candace Owens, episode 42, has been removed from the Candace Owens YouTube channel because it violates our hate speech policies. YouTube does not allow content containing conspiratorial claims that individuals or groups are evil, corrupt, or malicious based on their protected group status. Specifically, the video in question contains claims that Jewish people control the media. Okay. I just can't stand this stuff, dude. What I can't stand about it is the conflation of people who are Jewish with the Jewish people. Like, I'll say that right away. I worked for a media company. It's called Fusion. And guess what? I got to tell you a secret. It's actually not a secret at all. The heads of the company were Jewish. I don't care. I got to report on whatever I wanted to report on. Ultimately, I don't think the job worked out all that well. But guess what? Here's another secret. This may surprise you. But Vice.com was not run by Jewish people. And that's what I can't stand about it. Certainly, there are people in media who are Jewish, but I don't care if you want to point out that the president of this company or this media company is Jewish. I don't care. Just as long as you clarify there's a difference between the Jewish people and people who are Jewish. Then I'm totally like, by all means, okay? The problem ultimately comes down to, in my opinion, that they don't draw that distinction. And maybe some do, but sure, when I have the conversation with people about this, they say, like with Kanye West coming on the show, he's like, who is they though? And I'm like, the corporate press and Democrat politicians. And he got mad and he stormed off. And I'm like, dude, if you can't handle the conversation, have a nice day. So we had Kanye West on the show. This is like, what, almost 2 years? No, yeah, almost 2 years ago now, was it? Was it that long ago? Man, it was a while ago. Yeah, was it 2022? Maybe it was 23. I don't know. I barely remember. Time's flying, But here's the funny thing. I think Ben Shapiro should debate Candace Owens because you take a look at how these things go down. When Kanye West comes on the show and respectively and calmly, he says, who is they though? And then I'm like, the corporate press, political elites. And then I think Fuentes said something like, really? You really think that? And I'm like, yes, what? And then Ye was like, I'm out of here. I can't handle this. Talk about, Ye, weakness. You can't actually stand by what you believe. You guys fall into this rabbit hole. You start believing these things and you can't stand up to it. Okay, Ben Shapiro should debate Candace Owens. Candace Owens wanted to debate, and I think it would be a great conversation. Now, here's the thing, right? Let me see if I can find this quote. All who watched that podcast know that Ye was calm and filled with love, speaking about the world coming together to defeat evil. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Now, look, she's talking about Zionists, and there's a difference between Zionists and Jewish people. I'm not accusing Candace Owens of having said that. I don't know exactly what she said, okay? It looks like YouTube may be conflating Jewish people with Zionists too, which is a problem. But I got to tell you, here's my view on this one. Any special interest group would do the same thing. When she says their tactics never change, this is the stuff that I just can't stand Israel derangement syndrome. I don't like wokeness. I don't like this acting like literally only Zionists do these things. Okay? So a bunch of people flagged Candace Owens' video and it got taken down. I have skateboarders doing that to me. I just can't stand it, man. I'm going to stress this again. The video should not be removed, should not be suspended. I believe in free speech. Actually, I like Israel. I don't know much more to say about that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, woo, go Israel. I don't know enough about it, really care. But, slightly positive view of it. The war is something else. Definitely Israel is deserving of criticism in the conflict and the war for everything that's going on, because war is war. You know what I mean? But I would say this, and many others too, I think, who are critical of Candace's view would agree she should not be suspended or taken down. Now, to be fair, I have long maintained that you have no right to the YouTube partner program. This is YouTube doing ad sales for you. It's a great benefit, but there's two distinct things here. Candace, her show is still big. She can do her own ad sales, and she'll probably make more money that way. That's true. I don't see YouTube as having an obligation to sell ads on your content. So, that's fine. But please, my friends, let me read a little bit more what she said, and then I'll give you my thoughts. They say, Owens posted shortly after that YouTube had also demonetized her account, which has 2.4 million followers. Thus far, I've had 0 strikes on my YouTube creators account. I've now been inundated with 3 back-to-back content hits within minutes, plus an email that I'm now fully demonetized. We all know exactly who is behind this and why. Owens, who was fired by the Daily Wire after publicly feuding with Ben Shapiro, I got to wonder where all this comes from. Because we were talking about this last night in the members-only show at Timcast.com. Sign up at Timcast.com. I wonder if what really happened with Candace Owens is that she got into it with Ben Shapiro. That personal animosity with Ben opened this door to Zionism and Jews and things like this, which led her to increasingly focusing more and more heavily on this. I got a question. Why? For real, why? Here's a question. Candace Owens, I had praised Candace Owens when she was at the Daily Wire. We went there, I went on her show, and I thought she was brilliant. She had been talking about core political American issues that, in a way that I completely agreed with. There were things that she had said, in her opinion, I was like, that reflected my own opinions. And I was like, well, right there, I'm like, you are correct because you agree with me, right? I'm literally saying my opinions make me think someone is, like, if someone repeats my opinions, I think they're probably smart. Like, duh, right? So she's talking about politics and she says, here's what I think about this, that, or otherwise. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. It's the correct assessment, right? You're smart. Why then, after being a broad political commentator, do you get involved in overtly talking about Israel and Zionism so often? This is why I say I think a lot of this, and again, I don't want to throw Candace Owens under the bus or anything like that. I don't know exactly. I don't watch her show, so I think it'd be unfair to say that she's the only thing she's talking about. But I want to say this in a general sense to a lot of the people who only ever talk about Israel and only ever think that Israel, or they believe that Israel is everything. It's just Israel derangement syndrome. Example, I tweeted trollingly, Slava Ukraini, woo! I don't really care about Ukraine at all. I don't like that Russia invaded Ukraine. I think Russia was in the wrong. We had this discussion the other night with Raheem Kassam, and he said, yeah, but the U.S., stages a coup. That's hard power. And I'm like, Russia and the U.S. and the West, they're doing the same things in Ukraine, and Russia lost the subterfuge and manipulation, so they resorted to direct invasion. Wrong. That's wrong. I hope Ukraine wins. However, I don't want to spend the money on it. I don't want to be involved in it. But of course, the U.S. international hegemonic interests favor this. So they've not given us a legitimate casus belli or declaration of war for our involvement. So I could go on and on and on, but I don't care. Don't want to be involved. But I think Russia's in the wrong. For Israel, October 7th. How about that? So now Israel's just like, it's over. They're not tolerating it anymore. And it's become just brutal. It's war, and war is bad. Well, don't start a war. And then everyone wants to go back to history. And I'm like, dude, I don't have anything to do with it, man. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. But here's the point. I tweet Slava Ukraini. Nobody cares. I tweeted, I'm Israel Chai. And it's nuts, dude. The death threats. No, I got to be light. They're not literal death threats. They're like wannabe death threats. The emails, just like the messages. Yo, people lost their minds over this one. And that's what gets me. And that's what makes me so happy to troll. You want me to say I'm Israel High over and over and over again? I tell you, that's how you make me do it. Because it's a country that I don't care about. Like, I've been there. So I have like a slightly positive view of it. I had falafel and went to I thought I was walking around and there were cats and, it was cool. It was good. Tel Aviv was fun. And I believe they have a right to defend themselves. But I largely just don't care to be involved in that stuff. I think America should secure its borders, spend its money on itself and all that stuff. So I have no real interest in flying the Israeli flag or anything like that. But I assure you, the one way to make sure I do is to do exactly what you're doing. Okay, because you really want, I'll go for it. I'll just say, I'll tweet it again. Don't tell me. I can tweet whatever I want. But man, people lost their minds. Dude, people hate Israel. Yeah, and look, man, I think people get trapped. They get trapped in this worldview. It is nuts. There are people who have super chatted this show being like, I will vote for Kamala Harris. Or I was Biden at the time. I will vote for Joe Biden if he's anti-Israel. And it's like, well, he's not. But are you joking? You would burn this country down? Yes. Like, you hate America that much that you would vote for Kamala Harris or Joe Biden? Because they hate Israel more. Nah, not interested. Not interested. So I'll tell you again. Let me give my final thoughts just to clarify. I don't know exactly what Candace Owens has said in the greater detail. So I don't want to just do a general condemnation because I don't know. And I think it's fair to say her show should be up. She should be allowed to have his opinions, say her opinions, speak them. And I think I'll say it like this, man. When Ye was on my show and I gave him the teeniest bit of pushback that I was like, no, I don't think that's right. He stormed off. He couldn't handle the heat. He couldn't handle it. Nick Fuentes stormed off too. Come on. And everyone's like, Tim, book Nick. Nick left. He got up and left. Come on. He had the opportunity to be there. He didn't want to be there. He'd rather be with Ye. They didn't want to have the conversation. The moment I said, I don't think that it is the Jews controlling everything. Silly. We ended up looking up who runs the banks, and it's all Irish people. It's just so dumb. Guys, let me tell you, Israel's got a lobby. There's questions about AIPAC. They spend a lot of money. They were spending a lot of money, special Israeli special interest groups to oust members of the squad. This is politics. There are massive special interests spending massive amounts of money. If you want to argue that they should register under FARA, I'm listening. If you want to argue that they're powerful and they're lobbying the U.S. government for support, absolutely. And I'm listening. Let's have that conversation. But the idea that they are secretly in control of everything is just, y'all got to calm down. I think that stuff's silly. But we'll wrap it up there. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at Timcast.com. Support our work. We got another segment coming up for you in a little bit. But for everybody else watching live, we will now go to your super chats. And I kind of feel like I should crack open this yerba, which I will do. So give me a second. I have this delicious yerba mate berry lemonade. Ooh, it is a tea. And then we'll read your super chats. I get allergies in the fall. Like spring allergies, for whatever reason, last like 3 days for me. But then right around the fall, I don't know what it is. Well, let's grab some super chats. All right. David Molinarolo. Candace's claim that her suspension was due to Zionists is absurd. Google is run by Indian-born Sundar Pichai. Indians don't believe in free speech. Well, no, I think what she's saying is that they were mass reporting her video. And she's probably right. I don't know. But it's a special interest group. It's people who support Israel rallying to defend Israel. If you, like, there's this dude who's obsessed, the skateboard guy. He's obsessed with me. It's so nuts. He's made like 3 or 4 videos about me. And he just won't shut up. The people are obsessed. And so I get skateboarders flagging my videos. And I'm not coming out being like, skateboarders' tactics never change. No, it's not all skateboarders. Most of skateboarders are chill and they're hitting us up and they're going to come skate. But this one guy's got his weird little woke army. They call him Weasel. That's his name. And Weasel, that's what they call him. They call him Weasel, the Weasley guy. And apparently he never made it in skateboarding, so he lashed out and he got all mad. And he won't shut up. He won't shut up. But he's allowed to not. He can be obsessed with me. And a lot of people are obsessed with me. They talk about me nonstop. But I'm not going to sit here and like blame all skateboarders. Skateboarders secretly run this show. Whatever. Let's go. Hammer says there is no more free speech on YouTube anymore. There never was. Maybe before they sold it. But I got to tell you, if you made a YouTube video where you claimed that like Hondurans were all evil and were secretly controlling the government and all this stuff, they'd take that video down too, right? It's just that I have to wonder too. Again, not Candace, but I bet there's a lot of people that intentionally break the rules just so that they can claim they were censored for talking about Zionism or something. All right. Sir Link says there's a fundamental difference between being Jewish and being a Zionist. Apples and oranges. A Zionist can be Jewish, but doesn't need to be a Jew. But a Jew will always be a Jew. Right. There are people who are not Jewish who are Zionists. There are people who are they're Christians who believe in Zionism. And I don't necessarily want to say are Zionists, but they want Zionists to win because they want the Holy Land to be controlled by Jewish people and not by Islam. But, whatever. All right. Patty Jackson says, did you see the FNF podcast yesterday where border agent whistleblowers whistleblows and tells everything that'll happen at the border through the Border Patrol? I did not see that. Yeah. The next story we're going to get into in just a few minutes. They're blaming Trump for Afghanistan. And I bring this up because of the Lichtman stuff, because he claims there was no military failure. We're going to talk about that, but we'll grab a couple more super chats here. All right. Who wants to chime in? Kenny Michael Alanya says, I'm America first and America only, but answer me this, Tim. We gave billions to Ukraine and Israel and nothing to the poor people of America. The hypocrisy is crazy. Well, it's not a question, but I completely agree. They complain about the pipes in Flint, Michigan over and over and over again. It's a political wedge issue. And they just dump money into foreign countries. It's like, I thought, what was the assessment? $50 million would have fixed the entire plumbing of the city. So fix it. No. We need $1 billion for war overseas. Come on. This is unjustifiable. I tell you this. The machine state doesn't want to come out and say, we do that to maintain the strength of the petrodollar. But I tell you this, they could have shut the whole thing down. $200 billion to Ukraine. How about you carve out $50 million for fixing the pipes in like Newark, Pittsburgh, and Flint? Some say Flint was already fixed. I don't know, whatever. The point is, then when people are like, why aren't we having food for the poor? And why aren't we fixing our infrastructure and doing, okay, so do it. They just don't. They don't care. The machine state does not care about the American poor. It's just, and that's why they will lose. That's why they are in this position where Donald Trump is pulling ahead, because they are not taking care of American interests. There is a threshold where if the machine state were to give a certain amount of money to Ukraine and a certain amount to the American people, the people would be placated. They'd be like, well, I got what I need. In fact, if they came out and said, I'll tell you what they do. They say, we've got a funding bill for you. The bill is called the Helping Ukraine Win and Helping America's Poor Act. The bill will provide $30 billion in material military support for Ukraine and $100 million towards shelters and drug programs and stuff, people would be like, oh, that okay. Republicans wouldn't, but it would win over a lot of moderates. A lot of people are going to be like, don't care about war, don't know, whatever. Oh, but you're doing what for what? You're helping America? Like, it would defang a lot of that argument. They don't do it. They don't. All right. Communal Ransack says the military is currently failing to fight pirates in dinghies. Don't even need to talk about Afghanistan. Ooh. That's bad. All right. Here we go. Tim Crespi says Melania Trump just put out a video on Trump assassination. Should we talk about that one instead? I wanted to bring up the Afghanistan withdrawal. I did have that story. I wanted to bring up the Afghanistan withdrawal because of the Lichtman prediction and talk about the keys to the White House. But we could talk about the Melania video on the Trump assassination. Maybe we should do that. Melania Trump. I did see it, and we can play the video. I don't know how long it is, but we have it here. Let's do this. Let's talk about this because I think. What is this? What is this one? Interesting. Okay, we got something bubbling up here. Shailene Woodley defends. Shailene Woodley, she's based, I guess. Let's pull this up from CNBC, and we'll talk about this story instead of the Afghan stuff. And let's roll with it. So we have this here. Let's go. From CNBC, Melania Trump questions the Trump assassination attempt story. We need to uncover the truth. CNBC reports former First Lady questioned the official account of the attempted assassination this summer of her husband, Donald Trump. Attempted assassination. Speaking in a dramatically produced 30-second video posted to X to promote her new memoir, Melania argues there is definitely more to this story. She refers specifically to the failure of law enforcement to arrest Thomas Crooks before the near-fatal shooting of Donald Trump. Well, we have the video for you. I believe it is here, and we will play this for you. I like Melania. She's very nice. She minds her own business. She seems like a very good person. Here you go.
The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth.
Melania. That's it. Order now at melaniatrump.com. She questions what really happened, and she kept it simple. I wonder. They say CNBC has reached out to Donald Trump's campaign to request comment on the statement by his wife. Whatever. The Secret Service, which protects Donald Trump and other former presidents, has faced intense criticism. Well, let me point this out. You've got this story right now. Let's pull this one up from New York Magazine. Is it going to let me read it? It doesn't want me to read it. Let's see if it'll let me read it. Give me 1 second. So apparently this reporter says she inspected Trump's ear and it was fine. And so we have this one and we'll get into it. The afterlife of Donald Trump. Blah, 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 blah. Olivia Nuzzi. She claims to have examined his ear. Let's see, he said. He tapped the highest point of the helix. It's a railroad track. He tapped it again. They didn't need a stitch. You know, it's funny. Usually something like that would be considered a surreal experience where you sort of don't realize it, and yet there was no surrealism in this case. I felt immediately that I got hit by a bullet. I also knew it was my ear, just a little bit over here. He used his hand to wiggle the ear right next to, he gestured at the side of his head, at his brain, and raised his eyebrows. It's amazing. And the ear, as you know, is a big bleeder. It did not feel surreal. Trump kept mentioning that, how unexpected it was. So so here we go. She says, he was so clear about each moment. At Butler Memorial Hospital, he said he asked the doctor, why was there so much blood? This was due to the vascular properties of cartilage, the doctor told him. These are the things you learn through assassination attempts. He laughed. Okay, can you believe it? You ever see cauliflower ear? A lot of blood, easy. And so what happens is when the cartilage gets damaged or whatever, the blood starts pooling inside and it can harden. You have to get it drained. A lot of fighters just don't do it. They're going to say he can never fully see his own ear. He can never fully see himself as others do, I inched closer and narrowed my eyes. The particular spot that I identified was pristine. I scanned carefully the rest of the train. It looked normal and incredible and fine. Ears do not often become famous, but when they do, it is because they have suffered some sort of misfortune. Van Gogh, come on, jeez. Paul Getty III, whose kidnappers cut the whole thing off and put it in the mail, jeez. And now this, the luckiest and most famous ear in the world. If you are the kind of person inclined to make such declarations, which Donald Trump is, you might call it the greatest ear of all time. What is this? An ear had never before been so important, so burdened. She really doesn't want to stop. This is ridiculous. An ear had never been presented the divide between organic course of, are you kidding me? Yet an ear had never appeared to have gone through less, except there, in the tiniest patch of this tiny sculpture of skin, a minor distortion that resembled not a crucifixion wound, but the distant aftermath of a sunburn. I hate journalists so much. Holy crap. This is why I absolutely hate this stuff. I despise journalism. Okay, now hold on. Real journalism is totally great. Let me clarify. When a journalist writes, I inspected Donald Trump's ear. I could see very little damage to the ear following the assassination attempt. It appears to have healed. There was a tiny mark which looked like it may have been the remnants of a sunburn. There you go. We're done. But holy crap. Look, she wrote 3 paragraphs to explain this. I cannot stand what journalists think they are. Holy crap. This is what they do. There'll be a story and it'll be like, Donald Trump survives assassination attempt. And you'll be like, holy, what? Let me read the story. And what you're hoping for is a paragraph that says, on July 13th at a rally, a shooter opened fire on a crowd. The bullet grazed past Trump's head, striking only Grace's ear. He survived as he tilted his head. The Secret Service rushed him out. More information to come as the story develops. That's what you want in a news story. But what do you get? What do you get? They'll write the story, and not all journalists, not all, but a lot of this garbage, it'll say headline, Donald Trump survives assassination attempt, and you'll go, whoa. And then you'll open the article and it'll go, the air was crisp. I could smell the flowers, but the air seemed heavy. Clouds were rolling in. Donald Trump stood upon a stage. He said, and you're just like, oh, what is going on? What am I reading? Skipping through. And then it happened. The moment we all feared. Not the assassination attempt. No, that'll come later. It was the clouds cleared. Everybody realized it was sunny. And you're like, oh, just make it stop. Make it stop. Just tell me. Look at this article. Oh, my God. Who can read this? Anyway, Shailene Woodley is based. The story from yesterday. Shailene Woodley defends sharing Melania Trump's statement after Donald Trump assassination attempt. I am now a very big fan of hers, and the Divergent films are the greatest movies ever made. Much better than Hunger Games. I'm kidding, by the way. They weren't that great. But Shailene's cool. She has defended her decision to share Melania Trump's statement following the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Isn't she also married to that football guy? Aaron Rodgers. Is that it? Hey, maybe they're both based. In an interview with Bustle, the 3-woman star was asked if she felt she was misunderstood after receiving backlash for sharing Melania's open letter on her Instagram story. Woodley explained that upon reading the former First Lady's words, she thought, this is so beautiful. So this is not about the video she just put out. I was in circles of people that I deeply respect, friends, colleagues, progressives, very intelligent thinkers, shakers and movers. And many of them were saying he missed, effing assassin missed. Maybe it was a setup. Maybe it's a conspiracy. The actress recalled. I was going, have we forgotten that 2 human lives were taken? 2 people died. That is sad. That is devastating. I could not understand how people were speaking about something with such passion for death. Agreed. Yeah, shout out Shailene Woodley again. Beast. Woodley then pointed out that she only posted the first page of Melania's letter, as the second page was more political. The first page was very much like, look, underneath the political mask is a man, a grandpa, who comes home to his children, his grandchildren, and plays music. The man underneath that mask is my husband, she said. As for why she shared it in the first place, she noted that she thought it was a beautiful message of human compassion. She admitted that she forgot about posting it because she has a life and doesn't live for what social media says. However, she found out that it wasn't a well-received gesture. I cannot stand these people. They are so bloodthirsty that Donald Trump nearly lost his life. You know what really grinds my gears? I'll tell you this. Kamala Harris, her campaign putting out that fake statement claiming that I was in favor, a lie, accusing me of advocating for executions of Democrats. It is so the opposite of anything I've ever claimed. It is shockingly egregious and offensive. Let me tell you, I oppose the death penalty. And I have called for the safety and security of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I have said over and over again, Joe Biden needs to be kept safe. He needs to be comfortable with his family in a rocking chair, watching his grandkids. Well, his grandkids are probably adults. They are. But hanging out with his grandkids and his great-grandkids at this point. He should have great-grandchildren playing in the yard with a dog and just relaxing, living life. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't agree with the death penalty or executions or any of that stuff. And how dare they accuse me of that? Shailene Woodley posts this message where Melania is like, it's a guy, okay? He's got a family. And she's talking about how people she knew were like, oh, the guy missed. These people are psychotic. And we're supposed to be deferential to this. These are the people we're supposed to agree. I'm sorry, man. They go on social media all day, every day, advocating for death and violence. And then it's Candace Owens who gets suspended. Not that I agree with Candace Owens, but are you kidding me with this? She says, I Googled my name because I'm like, oh, F, what did I say? And of course, there were all these articles about Melania Trump. And I was like, oh, my God, that is now this. Hundreds of articles because I posted a woman saying she's grateful her husband is alive. Really? Well, Woodley was previously an outspoken supporter of Bernie Sanders, didn't share where her political inclinations now lie. Said her beliefs are pretty well known by the things she has done publicly in the quote unquote activist world. But added, but until the noise is feeding what I want to feed, which is a world that feels safe and soft and truly inclusive. That is with my people. That is something to work out with my people behind closed doors. Welcome to modern era, man. Just absolutely insane. Well, shout out to Shailene Woodley. That's based. I got respect for that. She doesn't got to be, on the right. I don't care if you're a progressive, a Democrat, or whatever, so long as you're not crazy and advocating for death. But tonight, my friends, we will be live from Congress with many members of Congress talking about the debate. We're going to be commenting on the debate with Donald Trump. Very exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. A huge show tonight. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your kids. We're going to watch. We'll be family friendly, but we're going to watch Donald Trump debate Kamala Harris, and we will laugh. And so I hope you enjoy our. We're gonna have a studio audience of congressional staffers. Not really a studio audience. I'm kidding, but like members of Congress will be on the show. We're going to be hanging out with their staff. It's going to be great fun. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at Timcast.com to support our work. And for those that are watching live, now we'll go to your super chats. And we'll grab just a few more before we wrap up here. Alex Aiello says for Flint, Trump gave $100 million. Michigan is just corrupt. Indeed, indeed. Good point. Good point. All right. 467 Sprite says 5 times sending IDF unalived American. Why keep funding? That was, what was it? It was an American activist in the West Bank. I've got questions about the Israeli incursion into the West Bank, but I also I don't care about Israel. So I hear the news and it's like Israel did a thing. And I'm like, China did a thing. Sudan did a thing. And people go, yeah, but we're funding Israel. Ukraine invaded Kursk. Dude, I get it, man. All of this stuff is bad. I'm not a fan of any of it. Jordan says the world turning against Israel is all part of a Bible prophecy. If you want to know what happens next, turn to the Bible. Israel will not fall. Interesting. All right. Yoshiaki Koga. They may be addicted to anger. Repeated outbursts make it easier to resort that anger, a form of reinforcement, both negative and positive. They're addicted to anger. They have to keep wanting up and to get their hits. It's crazy. All right. St. Miles says intelligence or deep state propaganda. I don't know. Pali Pure says, keep up the good work, Tim. Really do appreciate it. Let's see. Mary F says, I live in Indiana now with my husband and I, who are former libs. Grew up in New York City, though. The cat thing was when I was a kid. Oh, interesting. That was a long time ago, huh? Kenny Michael Alanya, we read that one already. So, well, it looks like we got to most of your super chats. If you want to throw in maybe one or two more before we sign off, I got a couple minutes, or maybe we'll just sign off early. Let's see. I think here we go. William Robinson says, my wife says she doesn't want a female president. There are a lot of women who say this. There are a lot of women who say abolish the 19th. It's funny because on Timcast IRL, you have most of the guys are like, no, the 19th is fine. And you have women going, no, get rid of it. If the 19th Amendment wasn't around, the country would be overwhelmingly Republican. It would be landslide Republican. But women do vote, and they vote very different to men. And the fact that you can actually look at the voting patterns of men and women and see how the country would be different, it's definitive. If men or women don't vote, the country looks very, very, very different. Whatever that means. My friends, tonight is going to be a hoot. We got to start getting ready to head down to Congress, and it's going to be a blast. We're really excited. So smash the like button, subscribe, and share this channel. The morning show has been great. This channel has gotten a resurgence. And it's funny because the Culture War podcast on my original YouTube channel, youtube.com/Timcast, has seen massive viewership now that it is once again back on its home channel. So things are looking up. They're looking up. But we could always use your support because principally we are funded by members. So become a member at timcast.com to support our work directly. And we need your support now more than ever. With 56 days until the election, I can only imagine the lawfare and the insanity is going to bubble up and get crazier. Thank you all so much for hanging out. And we will see you all tonight at 8 p.m. It's going to be good. Tell your friends.